Alright, I want to talk on this video about the code plan for Project 10. So, when we're talking about the tokenizer and getting tokens, this can get pretty tricky as there are several tasks you may want to do. So, in general, the idea is you are going to, at some point in your tokenizer, you want to be able to advance to the next token. And that's somewhat separate from getting a new line of text from the file. So, in general, you may want to have some function maybe has more lines or something that will be responsible for getting a new line, and then your advance function is going to want to go through this line you have and emit tokens. So, okay, the general idea is you're going to take a line from the file and break it up into the tokens, and so your advance function is going to need to go through the following steps. So, step number 1 is the current line you're working on. Check to see if that line is empty. So if it's equal to an empty string, then what we want to do, I guess, length the current line is 0. That would be the end of a file. So you just want to check to see if it's equivalent to an empty string or it's empty. If it is, it's just a blank line. You want to get a new line from the file, increment the line number, and then keep going until you have a valid line. Alright, now I want to check to see if we are at the end of a file, and so if we have gone through our entire our entire file, then if we read in a file and it's nothing, just the actual empty file, empty line, then we exit the function and we are done with our advanced function. It's complete. Alright, so at this point, step 3, you should have now a line that is empty. It has something on it. So at this point, we want to remove the new line character that's at the very end. So strip it. And then we want to start dealing with comments. And this is where it gets a little bit trickier. So within the comments, number 1, you know how to remove the end of line comments, the double slashes. So just do that the same as your other projects. Then what we need to start dealing with is these comments that have the /* and the */. These are comments that come from the C programming language, and they can extend across multiple lines. So here we are in part number 2 of dealing with comments. So if we are already in the middle of a comment, in other words, we have found previously a /* set of symbols and another line, and now we are still in the middle of that comment. So let's check to see if the ending */ comment end symbols are present in the current line. If they are, we'll get rid of all of that comment area, set the internal comment variable to false, and then go on. At that point now we should have back to our tokens we care about. Otherwise, meaning that we are still inside a comment, well, set that line equal to a space or an empty string and just keep going. We are still in the comment. Alright, next, check to see if we find the beginning comment characters in our current line, /*. If so, did we find a corresponding ending set of characters on the same line, the */? If we did, we'll just remove that section, replace it with a space, and move on. Otherwise, meaning otherwise that we have found the beginning comment character, that's talking about these right here. We found the beginning comment character, but not a corresponding ending one. We're going to set our internal in comment variable to be true, set the current line to be everything until the start of the comment character begins. In other words, remove that from the current line we're working on, and then keep going. So that's kind of the plan for dealing with multi-line comments. Alright, so at this point, on step number 5, right here, we have a line of text that has valid tokens in it. We've dealt with and removed comments, so this should be something that we can process. Alright, we want to remove all tab characters. That's kind of replacing the \t character. Replace it with a space, and we want to call line.strip to get rid of any other white space at either the beginning or end of a line, since that's not going to be meaningful to us. And then we're going to check to see if the length of the current we're working on is now 0, or meaning it's an empty string. And that would mean that this contains no valid tokens. So if that's the case, we're going to jump back to the top and start repeating this process, getting new lines from the file and going through what we just did. All right, on to step 6. Okay, so at this point, we've dealt with comments, we've removed the tab character, and so we're pretty sure we have something. So we're going to keep doing this until we end up with a non-empty line. And just as a reminder, to increment your current line number, that is referring to the current line in your source file. All right, now step 7, we can start looking at the actual parser part of advance. So the plan is to go through character by character on the line and then word by word as necessary. I suggest that you use a while length of self.line. In Python that would be so as long as there is something to that line, it's more than just nothing. That's going to be your main kind of parsing loop at this point. And then advance until you've just gone through the file. So if line 0, so if the first character is a space, then just skip that. In other words, you eat the space. And when I say eat, I am saying just get rid of it. Remove that first character and then keep going. So if the first character is one of the single character symbols, and that's like plus, minus, the exclamation point, I think that's one of them, asterisk, any of these special symbols. Set that the current token is a symbol, that's the type, and then line 0 is the symbol. Eat it, go on. So else, if line 0 is a character 0 through 9, meaning it's going to be starting with a numeric symbol, then set the current token to be a number, that's the type, and then call the parse int function, or whatever you're going to do to parse it. Then you can take that token and it's going to yield then the actual numeric value of whatever that constant is. All right, else if line 0 isn't the start of an identifier, so it's a valid identifier start sequence of characters, I believe the underscore, well then we need to check to see if it's a known keyword. These are known ahead of time as part of a language, and so if it's known keyword, well you can then deal with that. Otherwise, it is some other identifier that's user defined. We know the type, we know what the value is, we can parse that. And then lastly, if it is a double quotation mark in the opening symbol, then it's the beginning of a string, and we're going to go through and parse the string and return that as a string constant. Anything else is going to be a compile error. So here's kind of the lower level functions I have. I used a parse int, and that is responsible for getting an integer from the beginning of the string, the first character. You then eat the first character, get the next character. So if it's like 951, you'd get the 9, eat it, get the 5, eat it, get the 1, eat it, and then turn that into the number 951, and then you are good. You kind of keep going until you hit a non-numeric character. So in other words, you finally hit something that's not 0 through 9. Parse identifier, you keep getting characters from the line and eating them and building up something. And as long as what you're finding is a valid identifier, so letters A through Z, numbers 0 through 9, or an underscore, you keep kind of building up the name of that identifier and go until you hit something different, parenthesis, a space, whatever. Parse string. This is somewhat difficult, but what you want to do for that is to eat the opening quotation mark, and then you just keep adding characters, eating those from the input until you hit the ending quotation mark. Eat that last character, and then you just return what is inside of those quotation marks. That's your string constant. And there you go. That's kind of the general plan that I would say you should use to structure your code in the advanced function. This will help you get your tokens out. And once you have the tokens and kind of know what token type it is, and know what the token is, then you can start building up to the higher level pieces and creating the compilation engine.